This is an illustration of how to do the calculations for Chapter 21, Problem 2. First off, let's enter the information that we were given. So we have that rolled aluminum has a cost factor of 0.01. Lids have a cost factor of 0.005. Direct labor has a cost factor per unit of 0.0025. Small tools has a factor of 0.0013. And depreciation and rent are going to be fixed. So now we have the actual numbers, and the actual number for the East Coast is 3,492,000. The lids have an actual value of 1,980,000. Direct labor has 864,000. Small tools have 432,000, and our depreciation and rent are going to be $480,000. We also have the master budget numbers. So if we go to the master budget, is 4 million. Our lids are 2 million. We see that our direct labor had a master budget of 1 million. Our small tools had 520,000. And again, our rent is going to be fixed at 480,000. Now, let's also go and add some other givens that we had. Our cans per hour that we were looking at processing. We had an actual of 45,662 per hour was what our budget was. Our actual was 41,096. And then our average daily, we had anticipated that we would have 5, but we actually had 6. Housekeep that. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to calculate the flexible budget. And to get the flexible budget, what we have to do is we have to take the actual number that we had of 360. The actual is what we had when we did our results. The flexible is what we should have had. So let's go in and do our calculations using the power of Excel. We're going to take the 0.01 times that by 360 million. And we get a number of $3.6 million. Again, I'm going to use the power of Excel, and what I'm going to do is have it do the calculations for me. So we get 1.8 for the lids, we get direct labor of 900,000, and we get small tools at 468. Again, depreciation and rent are still the same. Now, what we have to do is we have to calculate the variance. So the first variance is going to be what we had for flexible versus what we had for actual. The flexible is based upon the amount of 360 million, what we should have had for costs. So now what we can do is we take our 360 million, equal sign, click on the cell, minus this cell over here, which is the actual results, and we get a favorable of 108,000. Why is it favorable? We had anticipated that our costs would be 360 million, but in actuality they were only 3,492,000, which gives us a favorable of 108. So since that's favorable, let's put an F to mark that. We now want to go in and do the rest of those. So as we carry that down. Now, in this case, what we look at is we were over 180,000. So that case it's going to be unfavorable. And let's also mark that as a negative so that we can go in. In this case, we had anticipated 900,000, but we only had 864, so that's again favorable. This one we had anticipated 468,000, but we only had a balance of 432,000, so again that's favorable. Let me make that capitalized so we're consistent. And what I also want to do now is our variance. This is our difference between what our master was, what we had budgeted, versus what we would have had at 360 million. Since the master budget was based upon numbers of 400 million, we only produced 360, so we want to compare those costs. So again, what we're going to do is take our formula and we're going to take the master budget minus the flexible budget. Okay, and in this case we had anticipated costs of 4 million, we only had costs of 3.6, so again that's going to be favorable. In this case we had anticipated 2 million, we only had a cost of 1.8, so again that's going to be favorable. We had anticipated costs of 1 million, but we only had costs of 900, so that's going to be favorable. And 520,000, and we only had 468, so once again those are favorables. Now to do some double checks, if we add up our costs of our actual results, we do the auto sum, we get 7,248,000. And notice what we're going to have is there's going to be no difference between our flexible budget and our actual. Now initially you'd say, well that's good, we didn't have any variances. But notice that we had an unfavorable here of 180,000. This is going to be a caution. This is something that we should look at because somehow we had an overrun of $180,000 in costs on our lids. So what could that be? That could be that we have some extra damages. Our machine is not producing quality things. We're getting defective lids from our vendors. So something we need to check out on that. And again, let's look at the total of our master budget. We had anticipated costs of 8 million. We only had costs of 742 million. So let's calculate the difference on that. And we have a difference of 752,000. Now we have one last thing to do down here. What's our cans? We had anticipated that we would produce 41,000 cans per hour. We did 45,000, so we're actually better on that. So let's calculate the variance there. and then we had anticipated that we would have 6 pounds of scrap. We only had 5. But the issue is that we had anticipated that we would have 400 million cans. We only produce 360. So we need to look and see what's happening in our production facility. Do we not have enough equipment? Do we not have enough trained employees? These are some factors to look at. Once again, this is how to do the calculations for Chapter 21, Problem 2. Take care.